We've got a master set builder, an Emmy-winning president, the head of Cable Town on NBC, and many other jobs over the year.
Yeah, boss, baby!
We'll start with SNL 50. So many iconic cast members, but when you think of hosts, you, Walken, Hanks, there's a very few that have landed multiple memorable sketches. And I'm just curious, when you got the pitch for Canteen Boy, or Sweaty Balls, or Always Be Cobbling for the Elf spoof on Glengarry Glen Ross, do you just know they're going to be a hit right away? Do you feel...
No. Well, first they have you do these things that go on TV. Then I go to church and my priest says to me, you realize you're going to hell now, don't you? Damn. But I did do the show several times, and when we go back to before the way it is now, where they're live on the West Coast as well. The West Coast feed, for those who don't know, used to be taped. They do the show at 11:30 in New York, tape it, and give it to them at 11:30 on the West Coast. But now they're live at 8:30 in the evening on the West Coast, or from California all the way up the coast. So, with a time slot from 8:30 to 10, that's much more reasonable for children. The ratings have boosted among children, and they've also tried to clean their act up a little bit because of children. And I said to them, have you met my children? They don't need anything cleaned up, it's hopeless. So, but yeah, the show is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and it's been through many permutations, the early days, the first 5 years, the original cast. And Lauren, who won the Kennedy Center honor last year or the year before, was obviously honored as SNL being a launch pad for so much comic talent in TV and in film. Is that the name? Yep. In TV and in film. Lauren does SNL, then he has a production deal to make movies at Paramount for many, many years now. And you think about, Wayne's World, and Three Amigos back then, all the movies that have pivoted, and TV series that have pivoted off of Lauren's deck. And it's probably the single most successful creative producer in TV history. And maybe movies close, but there's other people who make purely films. But Lauren has just, SNL's going to last for 50 years. Who the hell would have imagined that? But they did it. It's the 50th anniversary.
And you had the honor of Betty White mirroring that with her muffins years later, the same setup. It's the gift that keeps on giving, a sketch. With obviously Monster Mania, Beetlejuice is such a focus. It's been streaming #1 on Max for the past 4 months. I know you and the family dressed up as Beetlejuice's Lydia and Adam. What was that like, and getting them to see the film?
Well, my kids watched the original Beetlejuice a while ago, and they might have been too young for it in a way, but I showed them a picture on my phone. And it's me and Gina and Michael Keaton, and I point to my son and I go, that's Daddy, that's me. And I'm trimmed, I got dark hair, I'm looking good. And I go, that's Daddy. And they're like, no. And they point to Keaton in full makeup and they go, that's you. That's you. Oh God, but my kids, movies, I haven't made that many movies for kids lately, but when I did Boss Baby, that's the other one, I walk around the streets of New York, and the parents are like, Joey, that's Boss Baby. And the kids are like, what? They can't handle it, they're shocked. But Boss Baby was probably my favorite movie to make. How they come out, and how they're perceived, and how much money they make, or whatever, is something that's out of your control. But when we did Boss Baby, Tom McGrath, who was the director and the co-writer, he ran the whole show. He was so much fun to work with. And as I was mentioning to someone downstairs, you do a movie, and if the studio likes the movie, they'll put more money in it. Julia Roberts and Christian Bale are kissing on the subway, and the head of the studio goes, no, I don't want to kiss you on the subway. I want to kiss you at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. They shoot the crew over there, they shoot the cast over there, they spend a week, they shoot the new ending, which costs them like $3 million more money to go over there. But they're like, this is how the movie has to end. It's truly gotta be super romantic. With Boss Baby, the thing with animation is if they don't like it, they hit delete. They're not spending millions of dollars and having to argue whether that footage stays in the film, doesn't have a place in the film. Animation, if you can do a whole sequence, it takes a month, and if you play it in the screening room and you don't like it, boop, go on. And so you can try anything. When McGrath was the director, you can say anything, and it might not make it into the movie, some of the things you say. And SNL's the same way, like you gotta get right up to the edge. So let me say this as carefully as I can. I'll say this as carefully. So if there's a character, and they wanted to kind of make fun of women and women who have whatever kind of surgical enhancements they may have. So we want to have it be the male version of that. So the guy walks in, he's wearing a pair of athletic pants, and he has like, down his pants, he has like a watermelon. Thank you. And no, he walks in the office, and everybody does them when they do to all women. They're like, Bob, have you been working out? Have you been dieting? I bet you've been doing a lot of walk. You're doing your steps, Bob? And he's like, no. Obviously Bob's been doing something. And that's the thing I love about SNL when we did 30 Rock, was you have to find a way to make it kind of clean. Like you watch HBO when these other streaming companies and people are saying all kinds of bad language all day long. That's the show. The characters say this word and that word 10 times an episode. When we did 30 Rock, you had to keep it clean. You had to suggest to me, but you couldn't say it. There were things you just couldn't say, which I found that thrilling. Because it requires people to have more of an imagination. People never said these filthy words or whatever in Friends, Seinfeld, the biggest comedies in history were played clean for network television, so I find that kind of interesting.
Rock and just the incredible chemistry Jack had. I always think about him running her over and sitting for 5 minutes. Such a great tag.
Well, Elaine Stritch was a legend. She was a legend on Broadway. Because her whole life was about her career. She was the heiress. Her stepfather, I think, her mother got married again, and her stepfather, his family owned the biggest English muffin company in central United States. And she was worth a lot of money. She'd send me English muffins for Christmas. I get a box, and then it was Bays, B-A-Y-S, Bays, English muffins. And I ate every one of them. But she was a very kooky woman, very tough and very cynical and very, but one of the queens of Broadway. And then we would I'd sit with her on the set. We were waiting for them to do a shot. I'd sit with her on the set, and she had this very raspy voice. So she'd look at me and go, "You ought to do No Coward. You really ought to do Coward. I mean, he's so smart and so fun. It's just the best. God, you've never done any Coward. You've got to do some Coward." Then there's a pause, and she goes, "You need to drop about 20 pounds. But you'd be great in Coward." And she was very, very rigorously honest with people. But everything that you do is who you work with. You can give me the greatest part of the movies, you can pay me $20 million, and I go to them, I'm like, no. You run down the tarmac, you hang from the plane, well, that's exciting. It's what the movie expects of you. But it's so much better to work with people that are funny and smart, and so that's why I really, like people said, why do you do SNL so many times? I said, It was fun. It was really fun. And not everything else I did was fun, you know. And then we did SNL and they said we were going to play Trump. I was like, no. Lawrence said, you just have to do it 3 episodes. He's never going to win. I mean, come on, be serious. He's not going to win. Hillary Clinton's going to crush him. He's not going to be the president. You do these 3 episodes and then you're gone. You know? So the night of the election, I'm laying in bed. I don't have a TV in my bedroom, and my computer's there. My wife's asleep, and I wake up and I read my computer and says, Trump declared. Whatever. I turn to my wife and I go, he won. My wife was under the blankets and she literally goes, ugh. She groans. And then I sit there and go, I gotta do this for 4 years. Knowing Lorne, he wants me to come and do it for 4 years. And I said, you really think I'm gonna do this for the next 4 years? Well, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. So you go in there, and with acting very often, especially comic acting, you turn the TV down and you don't listen to the sound of the voice, you do that last. You watch how they move and how they behave and how their face works. So I always said that with Trump, you were going to do a guy who's sticking his lips out, his mouth out, trying to suck the windshield out of a car. So we would get into the whole Trump thing, and I would watch him on TV and I go, all this, like, you know, manipulating his jawbone or something. And then we turn the TV on. And there's people who played Trump, what's his name? Brendan Gleeson did in that Comey drama with Jeff, who was in terms of the dude.
Daniels.
Jeff Daniels played Comey, and Brendan Gleeson is a great actor who played Trump, but they've got 2 hours to unspool, as you always do in a movie, to unspool the character. You don't keep everything, you don't dump everything on the floor the first scene. It's a process. You introduce this pervert, the script is written. And I had 5 minutes of a cold opening. And it's called the cold opening, when you come on this boom, and now the President of the United States. And they cut inside the White House. Kellyanne. And we kept going. I didn't have a lot of time. You know, it had to be loud and bassy and vulgar and nutty. And it's the opening, it's like we're lighting the fuse of a live TV show. You only got 5 minutes. The cold openings rarely go over 5 minutes, maybe 6 if it's topical. So you're there, and I thought to myself, well, I'm going to just do him the way I think he deserved. He needs like a really two-dimensional, he's kind of like a comedy character, you know? And what's the one? But there was like, to me, I just loved the writing. I'll finish Trump with this, which was, and there it's Christmas, and Melania says, someone's coming down the chimney. Someone's coming down the chimney. And Beck comes down, and he's Putin without a shirt on. And he's got the Santa Claus hat on, he's topless, he's all buffed up, and he's got his back, and I say, Vladimir, I'm so sorry, I didn't know you were coming. I did not have time to get you a gift. And he goes, oh no, Mr. President, you are the big gift. Because I got you out from the shelf. It's fine. We put it on the mantle above the fireplace, right next to your internet router. Then he turns around and goes, boom! Things turned on now and engaged. He puts it on the thing. My wife calls me over. And Lana says, Donald, I want to speak with you. I go off to Cecily as Donald. And she goes, Donald, what would you do if someone come over to this country from another country and they don't know you and they just flatter you all the time? And Trump goes, marry them. Marry them. And when you do the show and the writing, everything is the writing. When you're in my position, I attacked in any way. You're just at the mercy of the writers. And when the writing is good, you should consider yourself. When we did 30 Rock, it was so funny. They'd have us do stuff, and you'd read the script, and you look at them and go, you gotta be kidding. To the writer, the head writer, Robert Carlock would say to me, we want you to do this. You're gonna play a gay soap opera star. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We know you can do it. We know you can do it. We have faith in you. It's a big swing, but we know you can do it. They're always like dumping this on you, do this nutty stuff. But that's TV, you know, where you can, it moves, it's got a pace, you got a page count, you got to finish every day. And then you go to Mission Impossible with those guys who are, that's their bread and butter. This is the thing, it's their juggernaut that they're making so much money off of, and they love it. They love each other. Chris McQuarrie and Tom and all those guys, they'll make the movie. And it's like the opposite, you know. You're there in a room, and the room has all glass walls. And you're sitting there talking to somebody, and you start to do the scene, and they go, oh, please. And the guy runs in the room with the glass and goes, in the microphone, and I walk and talk. And the guy takes the thing, and he wipes a little smear on the glass. And he goes, he runs. And we go again. We do a take. Hold, please. There's another smear. We want to be perfectly clear, you know. And by the time we do maybe 3 takes or 4 takes, it's lunchtime. But these guys really take it to they want everything to be perfect. When you work with Tom Cruise, so help me God, everything has to be perfect. Perfect. The angle you park the car, so you're gonna run in and get everything. He works out everything. And that's a ball, that's a blast, that precision. When you do TV, it's not a lot of precision. When we get close, SNL almost never. So much fun when you're doing SNL and you forget your lines. And you're like, you know, damn it, Sally! I told you once, I'll tell you again. Well, you know what I mean, Sally. And you gotta find ways to throw yourself out of this hole. But movies is so much more like putty. You know, it's really all these amazing. When you make movies, the most amazing people are the crew. People who make the movie physically. Wardrobe, set design, painters, camera, everybody. It's just like you should sit there and really, really get off on that. Because my acting is just, you know, it's the only thing I can really do. I can't do anything else at this point. But it's either challenging or it's fun. Sometimes the challenging things aren't fun, sometimes the fun things aren't that challenging. But that's the whole vibe when you're there doing it. And you want to get it right. Oh my God, I mean, I've gone home crying. I knew I didn't get it right. I didn't fight for what I wanted right. I have a thing now called show, not tell. I developed this technique over the last several years where I talk to the director and I say, I'm going to go do a scene. And I said, I want to do another take. And I'll say to him, I'll show you. Don't tell him for him to reject it. I'll show you. Action! We go over the camera. Action! I walk up there and I show him what I think is better. And probably half the time they respect that. They go, oh, interesting. But don't tell them. You gotta show them. Because everybody just sees. In the movie business, talking is like, show.
I love your work with WQXR and Use Your Wrong as well. I actually saw you at the Rachmaninoff concert you did. So how did you get involved in that and get to be friends with her?
Well, I was in Los Angeles for a long period of time. I lived both places, New York and LA, from 1983 until 2013. Then my daughter got old enough to travel, so I got rid of my house in LA, which I had different houses over the years. And I'd be in LA and I'd be driving my car and the classic radio station was on. There was no internet back then, or I think it was almost coming. And I would listen to a piece that was just haunting me. So I'd call KUSC or whatever the station was there and get the program director on. There was a live person that then answered the phone. Unlike today. And the live person answered the phone and I said, what was that piece that was playing? I had to get off and go to an appointment at Warner Brothers. They said, what was that piece? They said, what time? I said 12:15. They go, okay, the piece started at 11:52 and it ended at 12:21, and that was the Who did the organ symphony? Anyway, a lot of classical music freaks out there, right? I placed, the Mahler 6, Eschenbach conducts the Philadelphia, and they tell you write it down on a pad. Nobody, I had a car phone. I didn't have a smartphone, And so I just started to dive into classical music, that kind of stuff. And then I went to go see a concert at Carnegie Hall, and in the box next to me was Zared Mehta, the then executive director of the Philharmonic, and he was with his partner who programs with him, and the two of them. In fact, the man who ran that program, the man that got me the job, is the executive director of the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra today, which is one of the great symphonies in the world. Matthias Tarnopolsky is the ED, and they have Neze Seguin is the conductor, correct? No, anybody? Neze Seguin? Yannick Neze Seguin. So Philadelphia, one of the big five, one of the great symphonies in the world, Boston, New York, Philly, Chicago, Cleveland. But the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra, you should really go one day. I mean, you have a treasure in your backyard here. The Philadelphia is just amazing. So Zared said, "Come and see me." And the older man who was the voice of the New York Philharmonic, Kerry Frampton, was retiring. And they said, "Would you like to be the voice of the New York Philharmonic on the radio?" And I've done it for like 12 years now, 12 or 13 years. So yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Hello, Alec. I'm a huge fan. You're awesome. Could you
I want to just know, do I make you do that, or do you ordinarily do that?
I want to do it.
You went, "Hello, Alec."
Hello, Alec.
Did I bring that out in you?
Maybe.
That's awful.
Could you share some info on working with Martin Scorsese in The Departed? What was that like?
Well, I think when you work for Marty in a small role, like when I did Departed, I had done The Aviator before. And you just know if you have any savvy. What Marty Scorsese wants to do is get to Leo as fast as possible. You like to shoot your scenes as efficiently as possible. And I did the scene where he's on the other side of the wall, Hughes, Leo. And he's naked, and he's insane, and he's saying all those lines you know from the film. Remember the milk, remember the milk, remember the milk, remember the milk. And he's in there breaking down. I go, "Howard, it's one. One!" And he's snapping and popping and twitching. He's having another nervous breakdown. So I did my lines outside through a keyhole. Then when I was done, which was quickly, like a couple of hours, they go in and they shoot me in. But the whole thing worked well because, you know what you gotta do. Remember your lines, don't take up too much time. There's 50 other guys that could have got to play this one. Marty brought me in there to do that. Then we did The Departed, and The Departed we had a little more time one day. And Marty says to me, "Those guys over there, those guys over there. You see those guys over there?" And I go, "Yeah, I see them, those guys." He goes, yeah. They didn't put the camera where you told them, did they? Did they put the camera where you told them? Did they put the camera where you told them? Did they put the camera where you told them? They didn't, did they? And I'm going, "No, they didn't." And he goes, "You're upset." I'm upset. He goes, "How upset are you? How upset are you? You say you're upset, I'm fucking upset. How upset are you with them about the camera? Come. And I go, "I'm real upset." He goes, "You want to go video? You want to give him a snack? You want to give him a snack? Give him a snack? And I go, "Yes, I do." Let's set up there. So I walk over to the guy, I pick him up, and I'm talking to him. I grab him out of the chair and I throw him against the wall. Now the wall is not what's called a practical wall. It's a design wall, so it's not fortified. So I throw him into the wall, the whole wall breaks. And you hear Marty like the monitor going, "Let's fix the wall now. Now, fix the wall now, fix it now. And they top up the wall and they wait it so it's not going to fall over. And he goes, "Do it again. Let's go again. And I run over to the guy, pick him up, I bounce him off the wall, and punching, and they pull me off him. and we think it's over. I'm not doing this, I'm right. And the guys go there and I go, you, boom, I start kicking him on the ground. And all you hear in the back of this, Marty loves violence. And it's well executed. But you have your moment you're there to come up with ideas, you play with it, and not all of it's in the script, but you do it and he is happy. And then you get it out of the way so he can go be with Leo. Because Leo was his star. Leo DiCaprio has the most wonderful opportunity in all of movies because De Niro was his muse. De Niro was his star for years and made some of the greatest movies in movie history. And now Leo is that person. And look at Leo and him, and they made great movies.
Well, Wall Street's one of them.
Yeah, well, are you old enough to watch it?
I'm 20, so.
You're 20?
Yeah. I'll be 21 in February.
Oh, now then you'll be old enough to.
What is your favorite movie that you've ever done?
I don't have one. Most of the memories of acting come through the theater. Because you do it again and again and again, and then you go out there and you begin to relax, find some things. And most actors I know, not all, but most actors I know, are never ready by opening night. But they're great a week after opening night. But in movies, it's all about the experience. And I was mentioning, I did this one with The Edge with Tony Hopkins. We went to the Canadian Rockies in Alberta, and that was my favorite movie because it was the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life, was Alberta. You know, we flew helicopters to the top of Assiniboine, the mountain that's at the peak of the Canadian Rockies there in Alberta. And we just, I love Tony, I worship Tony. You know, I'll tell you this one story. How much time do we have?
We got another 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So Tony and I do a movie, and we're there in the woods, we're lost in the forest in the Canadian Rockies, and Lee Tamahori is the director. Lee Tamahori says, so we're looking at Lost a few days now. Lee Tamahori, who was a Kiwi, he comes in and says, he's from New Zealand, and he comes in and he says, all right, men, you're standing here lost in the forest, you've got some sticks you can break and have a fire, and then we're looking for pine needles. If you put them inside a leaf with water, they act like compasses and point toward north. This is all the fables we were taught when we did the movie. We've got to get some pine needles here. He said, Tony, what were you thinking of doing? He turns to Tony Hopkins. And Tony Hopkins says, I thought I'd cross over here and stand by this Douglas fir. Stand at the tip of this granitic outcropping. A herd of caribou winding their way over my shoulder in the snow. And he would stand there and look at what was the most beautiful spot where we were. He goes, I'm going over there. And the director goes, fantastic, Tony. Alec on the ground, foraging for sticks in the filthy mud, quick pop, time permitting. Time permitting. 6 cameras on Tony over here, quick pop on Alec. Tony. Day 2 comes. What do you have in mind, Tony, for today? I thought I'd look over here. These mountain lines in the distance. And, whatever, and he just, the glacier-fed stream rolling over my shoulder. And he composed the most beautiful picture. How about you, Alec? Okay, 9 cameras on. Tony, quick pop of Alec and the filthy bog, time permitting. And then finally they go the next day, they go, Tony, what did you have in mind? And I thought I'd do this and this and this. And they say, how about you? I go, I'm going with him. I'm standing right next to him. I learned my lesson, but I learned a lot. We heard Tony, who was a great, legendary English stage actor, but who only wanted to make films. That was his dream, and he obviously did quite well. I learned so much from him. That's the greatest joy of making films, is the people you learn from, the veteran actors you learn from. It's crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I want to know if you had fun filming Cat in the Hat. I'm sorry.
No. I will say the most fun thing about Cat in the Hat with 2 things was Bo Welsh was Tim Burton's set designer for years. He did Beetlejuice, he did Batman. Bo Welch is married to Catherine O'Hara. And Bo, who's one of the most prominent set directors in the world, he directed his first film. He directed Cat in the Hat. And I love the kids. I thought they were great, Spencer and everybody. But I must say that, like most men of my generation, I fell in love with Kelly Preston every 10 minutes of the day. Every time when I turn around and see her, I think, Travolta's wife, who died, Kelly, she was the most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life, truly. And like real, she wasn't like something dressed like, she was like in a devil costume or something. You know? She was like a real, natural looking, and she was breathtaking. She was the loveliest woman I ever worked with. She was sweet and kind, and she'd sit and talk to you. She was really a doll, you know what I mean? And, but they did say to us, they said, whenever you're in the middle of your scenes and Mike comes out of makeup and he's ready, you have to shut down your scene and everybody has to run to the other set to get Mike. We have to get Mike when he's ready. We must get Mike when he's ready. And sure enough, I'd be there with Kelly Preston's character, Joan. You gotta understand one thing, Joan. Cut! And everybody would just leave me and Kelly like this. They'd all run down the street because Mike was ready. So a little hectic. But I will say that John's late wife, everybody who knows Kelly was in love with Kelly. She was a doll.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
How different was the CGI in Cat in the Hat to how it looked when you were filming it?
Only someone your age would ask that question. A technical question you're asking? You made a comment on the technology and damn that? Oh, sure you did. Of course you did. How old are you? Yeah, of course you want to know the tech of the movie. I didn't see the footage because I had a small part. I wasn't Mike. Mike was producing. He was the star of the film. And so they showed me cuts. Like he'd come to me and say, but when they show you that, remember that's a long time ago comparatively speaking. You know, the things they can do now are more than they would do back then, which is like 20 years ago. I think I remember about 2001. But so they'd show you stuff on the computer. They get a pad and they'd say, watch this. And you'd watch it and it wasn't complete at all. It was a rough rendering of what you're going to see. And then when they had more to show you, they'd let you know if you were still there. But I've watched films, I'm telling you, I've watched films that I did mostly. You could see other people's films, but I watched films where the movie was a comedy and they would air me their first cut. Like one of these films, I was the star and I was a producer on. They said, here's the first cut of the film, the complete cut. And we sat in my agent's living room in LA and watched it, and we both, and when it was over, my agent turned to me and said, did you notice that neither one of us laughed once? It's a comedy. So what happens from when it starts to when it comes out? Well, if they have a budget, it's unrecognizable. You can't do it. So with the Cat in the Hat, they would show me little pieces, but it was never complete. They'd say, they'd show characters doing something, they'd have a rough kind of color tableau, and they'd say, and in the background, give me all these, vultures flying over that side, and then I'm going to put it in later on. And you can't keep up with that technology. But the only other time I was given a lot of stuff to view was Boston. They'd bring me into a room and say, what do you think of this? And they were geniuses in terms of animation, so it was great. But the point we make, I think, is that it's the computer's influence on the film is profound. And you can watch a cut of a film and 3 months later, it's unrecognizable. This, they changed this, they cut this, the music, it's crazy.
Hi, Alec. Hi, Byron. It's Valentina, your favorite dead languages professor. Alec, you had recommended to me The Art of the Steal, the documentary about the Barnes Foundation, and I want to thank you. It was really fascinating. Actually, one of my friend's dad was in the film. He was interviewed. I think he was a trustee. So I was wondering if you had another documentary recommendation for me to watch.
I'd have to. I'll be honest with you. I've always known Martha Stewart, and I bumped into Martha Stewart And who doesn't know Martha Stewart, and she's that iconic. And I went to the screening at the Hamptons Film Festival this October. They have it, what was normally called Columbus Day weekend. And they did the film, and that was the opening night film on Friday. Then the following night, because of her availability, some trustees who are very wealthy people with these enormous homes out there had a dinner party for Martha, and I sat next to Martha. And I adore her. And the movie just devastated me. Because you don't know this woman until you see this movie. They paint her out to be this kind of cold and different. And she may be quiet, but I wouldn't read much into that. She was just the loveliest woman. And she apparently hated the movie. Hated the movie. I thought she didn't want to hear all this old stuff brought up in her. But I said that R.J. Cutler, the filmmaker, I said, he did for you something you wouldn't have done for yourself, which is to be honest. You hate that movie, but everybody loves you. Everybody who saw the movie, they loved her. It was like how she was treated and abused, and she didn't need to go to prison. I mean, have her do, some community service and teach. I remember when all the actresses got put in jail for the university scandal. And Felicity Huffman, who was a dear friend of mine, I worship her. There are people you work in the business with who you just worship because they're so talented. And Felicity is one of them. She's so talented. And she goes to prison. And I thought, well, shouldn't they have made her teach acting at USC for a year for free? Wouldn't that have been a more kind of reasonable application of her talents? Put her in prison? So I remember all that. It was tough. But Martha in prison, can't she teach, home decoration or some goddamn thing at Columbia University or public school? So Martha is the most, I know a lot of archival docs, but Martha, the Martha Stewart documentary, see that movie. It's a really, really fascinating movie.